Hi everyone, this is Joe here and welcome to my presentation on functional splinting and occupational therapy. I am here today with my awesome cousin Nick here, and just a little bit about it. Nick is the individual who I made the functional splint for this presentation, so therefore he's going to kind of be the center of attention. The presentation has 4 phases to it. The first part, just going to kind of introduce Nick, some of his needs and interests here, and then also to the second part, go into what type of splint we made, how we made it, what materials we made it out of. The third phase actually showing you with him actually using the splint. And then the fourth part just kind of summing things up and tying things into the occupational therapy framework, and then how splinting has a functional purpose within OT practice. So first and foremost, you guys, Nick was born with cerebral palsy at birth. And what that did is it created some spasticity in his right arm. And he has his arm kind of in a flexion synergy pattern with flexion at the elbow, the wrist, with that also some ulnar deviation of the wrist, and then also 2 clasping of the fingers with some flexion of the fingers here. And with that being said, despite some of the functional deficits that Nick has had with his arm, he's been able to pretty much do anything that he sets his mind to. And you've been working for full-time for Peckham for how long now, Nick?
About 4 months, I think.
Okay, and you were working there before then on a part-time basis, right? So working full-time and just living life to the fullest. So, and he does a pretty darn good job at that too. So with that being said, you guys, I wanted to kind of create a splint for Nick. I know he has his uncle Dan. Has been a big influence in his life, and he's always played the drums kind of growing up and has been in various bands and stuff like that. So that's an activity that Nick has been kind of trying to learn how to do, playing the drums. And so therefore Nick kind of asked me or indicated that sometimes he has a hard time gripping the drumstick, or the drumstick will fall out of his hands because of the spasticity issues that he has. And therefore I wanted to kind of create a splint that would help support that. So is there anything that you'd like to say about that, Nick, just in general, about drumming? Okay. Okay, but anyways, with that being said, you guys, so Nick here, let me just see your hand here real quick so you can kind of see how it's kind of flexed here. And the goal is to kind of help neutralize the wrist here a little bit. Obviously, we want to make sure that that we do this slowly here for his range of motion, to make sure that there's no contractures or that there's no pain. Is that hurting at all, Nick? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so bring the wrist into a more neutralized position, and then also to kind of help extend the finger. So the first thing that we want to do when we're designing a splint is try and look at the functional purpose of it. So I'm trying to think a drummer is, as from an activity analysis standpoint, they're going to be seated obviously when they're playing the drums. Both feet are going to be flat on the floor. They're going to be kind of good body posture, erect spine, hands and arms out in front, so they can reach the different drums and cymbals, etc. And a big part of that's obviously going to be reaching, and then also too, a lot of the wrist movement is going to be radial and ulnar deviation. And I'm sure, Nick, I think that's something that that you struggle with a little bit more, just because of the anatomical aspect of the wrist. But still, the wrist is going to be in more of a neutral position, and then also too, with the fingers being able to grasp the drumstick. So really the focus here is to try and help neutralize the wrist, and then also to support the palmar arch, and by bringing the fingers out a little bit or extending them, and then with that he can kind of grip the drumstick better. So with that being said, the very first thing that we want to do when we create a splint is take measurements. Okay, so and we do that by, here, just one second, Nick, so using paper towel. So cheap way, if we mess anything up, we can always toss this out, and that we can get another sheet. At least we can trace our pattern on this before we actually mold the material. So Nick, here, go ahead, and Nick's just gonna place his hand down here and try and visualize the wrist out a little bit. So I'm gonna just take a felt marker here, and I'm first gonna mark it at the first CMC joint right here in the first phalanx. And then I'm going to go in the first web space right here, and then mark the MP joint here. Go into the second web space here, mark the MP joint. And then I'm going to go in the last phalanx right here and mark the MP, just below the MP joint right here. And then kind of trace along the location of the wrist here. Okay, Nick, you can go ahead and lift your arm up. Now what I'm going to do here is from my the mark that I made at the second web space, I'm going to go ahead and kind of trace just a vertical line down here. And then where I made the first CMC mark, I'm going to go ahead and draw a horizontal line over here. And then where those two intersect, that's going to be a main point that I'm going to want to pay attention to, because when we're making this splint, we're going to want to try and steer clear of that CMC joint so we don't create any abrasion or any just pressure sores in general. So this custom orthotic, or also to splint, is going to be custom made for Nick's hand. So, and that's kind of what the specific measurements for, so we can kind of gauge where his different arches are in his hand and the creases, etc. So then I'm going to take the spot where I made the first MP joint, and then I'm going to just kind of go a little bit above here, create some extra room, and just kind of draw a line over to the last MP joint that I made, and kind of trace my line down here. And then when I'm bringing this around, I'm going to keep this intersection point right where I made right there in mind. I'm just going to kind of trace this around here and go just inside that intersection point, and then kind of come back around here and then around here. So obviously this is much bigger right here, but I'm going to cut this pattern out. After a couple of tries and just some modifications too, this is about the size that we got right here. So Nick, if you bring your hand up here, and then we can so if we bring this out right here, does that feel okay?
Yeah, it's just not a good surface to do
Yeah.
that on.
So we had a countertop here when we were making this, so okay. So if I put this in here then now, and wrap it around here, we can see that it kind of folds up here on the anterior portion of the forearm, that we're kind of steering clear of that CMC joint right here, and also to the styloid process on the ulna right here. And then this right here, the thenar crease, this portion right here actually fits right inside, so that thenar crease is exposed, and then also to the distal palmar crease right here. So it's really important that that kind of stays up in there and that we don't cover those creases, because if we do, then that obviously is going to rub when he's using this, and that's going to just not make it as functional. So thanks, Nick. So after we have this cut out, we take our splinting material, and now the particular type of material that I made out of this, I borrowed or I used from Grand Valley State, and it's a pretty durable, hard material here that can be formed when it's heated up on the stove with some water. This was used scrap material, so I actually had to heat it up, flatten it out, and then let it harden. And then what we did then is we traced this design right here on the actual splinting material in crayon, wax crayon, because when we dip it then back in the water and heat it back up to get that, the wax crayon will stay on there. And then after we heat it up, we'll take it out, and then we just snipped it along the outline pattern here where the crayon was with just sharp kitchen shears. And then what we do is we put it up to his hand, and we kind of mold it to his wrist and his hand here. So just to kind of create a custom splint. So this is just a basic standard wrist immobilization or cock-up splint, and really with a focus just to kind of help neutralize the wrist and support that palmar arch here. So with that being said, the materials that some more materials that was used to make this right here is neoprene strapping. Really like this a lot because it stretches, and then it also too sticks to the Velcro. So when Nick puts this on, it can really give him kind of a snug, secure fit, and that's really important just from the custom aspect of it. Plus also too when he's drumming. So and then just Velcro in general here. We'll explain more about that M here in just a little bit, but I think there really should be a GV on there, or an S for the Spartans, man. So, but so anyways, Nick, how about we go ahead and don this? We put it on, okay, just like we did. We did a little practice session before this, just to kind of make sure you got the feel of it. So, and then what we'll do is kind of do a little demonstration, Nick, of you using the drums, okay? And then after that, we'll just kind of wrap it up with a summary. So, okay. So kind of get the hand positioned how we want it here, a little bit more neutral, and then also too with the fingers extended a bit more. And I found it easiest if we strap up this top part here, if I support the palm right here, the palmar arch. Oops. Bring that around because we want it snug here. And this is probably going to be something that Nick will need some help donning or putting on, just from the standpoint that it is pretty snug, and we want it as snug as possible when we're using this. But usually he's jamming and doing the jumps with his cousin Dan, or his uncle Dan anyway, so it's not as big of an issue. So how's that feel, Nick?
Good.
Okay. Now what we use for a drumstick, just a regular old drumstick, and once again remember Nick had a harder time just hanging on or just gripping the drumstick. And primarily with the drumstick we just use a cylindrical grasp or power grasp. In this instance he's going to have a little bit more lateral stance with the thumb on back. And just a quick little adaptation here to the drumstick, we put just a bicycle grip. I purchased these on Amazon for what was it, about $9 or $10, and so this just kind of increases the surface area around the drumstick, so he can, it's just a little bit easier for him to grip, and then plus too with just the form of this too, it kind of prevents slipping. So there's your drumstick, Nick, and then we'll go ahead and scoot this out of the way and get things ready so we can kind of show it off, okay? All right, Nick. Sweet, man. All right. Awesome job, Nick. So how did that feel anyways?
Good.
Did it? Okay. Does the fit feel okay on that?
Yeah.
And we could probably also, too, make another one out of maybe different types of material, whether it's perforated or whatnot, so then it can kind of be a little bit more breathable on it. And did you feel like you're able to grip the drumstick pretty good, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. So definitely a cool little play leisure occupation for Nick to kind of participate in there. So so just doing a quick little summary here. So when I met up with Nick to kind of make this splint, I was really excited about this because not only does it cover functional splinting, but also to adaptive equipment, and these are both things that I think are really a focus of occupational therapy practice, to try and help individuals increase their performance level in various things that they pursue. And this was a really fun activity to do, and it was really neat, and I think Nick was able to kind of get something out of that, and just in general as far as enjoying some of his play leisure occupations. So thanks so much for watching this video. Hopefully we learned something, and talk to you all soon. Bye.
We were meant to live for so much more, but we lost ourselves.